You've probably heard the idea floating around that if we just ban these big institutional home buying investors, then housing would suddenly become more affordable. And it sounds simple, but would it actually work, especially here in Orange County? So let's talk about what's really going on and what this kind of policy would actually mean for our buyers and sellers here locally. I'm Danae Aballi-Mecham, an Orange County realtor with over 21 years of experience, and I work with buyers, sellers, and investors in one of the most supply-constrained markets in the country. So for this reason, I pay close attention to our housing policies because headlines don't buy or sell houses, people do. So these policies can sometimes sound great on paper, but then the real world impact is often more complicated. So let's break this down in a practical and non-political way. The first thing I want to let you all know is when people say they want to ban institutional investors, what they're usually referring to are the large investment firms or private equity groups that buy homes at scale and then often turn them into rental homes. So the idea behind the proposal is that if these large buyers weren't competing with everyday buyers, then prices would come down and affordability would improve. So it's also important to know that as of now, this idea has been proposed and discussed, but it is not broadly implemented nationwide. So even if something like this were passed, it would likely only apply to very large institutional buyers, not the individual investors or small landlords. So the question isn't whether investors exist in the market. The real question is whether removing this specific group fixes the affordability problem. The second thing is the reason affordability is more complicated than trying to remove one buying type is that even if these guys stepped out of the market tomorrow, housing would not suddenly become more affordable, especially in places like Orange County. The core issue we have is our supply. We haven't built enough homes for decades, and this shortage is still here. So limiting who buys the homes doesn't create new inventory. It doesn't lower the construction costs, and it doesn't make it easier to build in high demand areas. On top of that, the mortgage rates and the lending rules still matter. So even if prices softened a little bit, the higher interest rates keeps our monthly payments high, which is what buyers actually feel. So while banning these large investors might make it feel like a good solution, without more homes being built, demand will continue to outpace supply. And lastly, what this could mean for our Orange County specific buyers and sellers, the impact would likely be modest, if anything. Institutional investors do exist, but they don't dominate the Orange County neighborhoods. The bigger driver of pricing here is limited inventory combined with strong local demand. So if this institutional buying were restricted, we might see a slight reduction in bulk purchases, but it wouldn't suddenly unlock thousands of affordable homes. There's also a rental side to consider, and some of these institutional investors provide professionally managed rental housing. So reducing that supply without replacing it could actually put pressure on the rents, which doesn't help affordability either. And for home sellers, this basically is not going to affect you either because the owner occupant is still running as a strong contender in the buying pool. So in conclusion, would banning institutional investors from buying homes help with our affordability? Probably not all on its own. So affordability really comes down to supply and our construction costs. So